Hello and welcome to Finextra. I'm Thea George and I'm here with Nektarios Liolios from Startupbootcamp and Tomic from SAP. We're at the SAP FSI Forum in London and we're talking about innovation. Nektarios, Tony, thank you for joining me.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
So Nektarios, people will always say they're investing in innovation, but how much genuine innovation do you see out in the market?
It depends when you define by genuine innovation. I think people use innovation as a catch-all phrase, but different organizations are at different stages of their capability. The smarter ones have recognized that they're looking to grow their capability and actually do more, but there's also companies out there who even now in 2017 have absolutely no idea what they need to do, and they just start stabbing blindly into any direction that offers itself to them. So we see some real innovation. We see an evolution of the thinking with the smart organizations. In terms of not doing just one thing at a time, but trying multiple things simultaneously, having an accelerated engagement, having their own investment arm, running POCs. But then you have other organizations who think, hey, we've discovered innovation, we think we have to do a hackathon because it sounds cool.
So Tony, from your perspective, what challenges do big established firms face when it comes to innovation?
I think, first of all, those companies are used to a certain business model. And run this business model as efficient as possible, right? And establishing in this company or corporation or enterprise an innovation process coming from internal, right, is pretty difficult, right? And especially in the financial services sector, companies are struggling with that, right? It's those classic arguments like we've done it like always, right? And injecting change with people that need completely to be changed, right, is a little bit difficult. So I think that companies are aware of that, right? We see more and more companies that, you know, just as Nektarios said, are part of an accelerator program, have their VC fund and so on. And I see that whereas maybe 3 years ago companies have been looking at innovation, where can we innovate? Now it's about how can we execute upon it, right? And how can we make it work, right? So that's the difference. But I think that's the maturity varies so much, right? You have companies that believe that having email security already is innovation, right? And I had these conversations very honestly. Whereas others are accelerating really on a defined digital roadmap and make use of machine learning capabilities, are investing in chatbots, for example, right? And just trying things out and know that over time they will master that exercise. And I think that's how I see the world of innovation at the large corporations, the large financial service institutions, right? And I think I don't see innovation working within it. I see it working next to it in a speedboat approach or as a ship, right? That is not blocked by the traditional borders of the organization that is there today.
So Nektarios, the innovation conversation is not a new one. Arguably we've been having it for 10 years or so. How have you seen that innovation conversation evolve and how do you expect it to evolve in the future?
I mean, the whole basis of innovation is experimentation and failure. And if you want a slogan, something catchy, it's moving from an ROI mentality to an R&D mentality. And that recognition of the need for R&D slowly started emerging. But it's still not enough. People use regulation as an excuse. The regulators are actually quite open-minded in many jurisdictions to encourage it. There's always the excuse of, oh, we've got legacy, you don't understand. But the question is also, what's the alternative? You have to do something, right? So there has been an evolution. I don't think it's moving fast enough. I think the recognition that startups are not here to take away business, but actually to add to the ecosystem is really refreshing because finally the penny dropped and people see that all these new companies with the new technologies and new business model can add and make the whole thing richer. On the startup side, we see an evolution from B2C to B2B, which also makes the large organizations recognize that this is really beneficial for me, but it's still not enough. And the biggest frustration probably is also that people see as innovation, they split innovation between the external engagements with startups and with mechanisms and the internal innovation piece. And unless you bring the two together and actually take your organization through a mind change process, get them to recognize that they need to work differently as an organization, it's not going to work. And that includes things like incentivizing the right people at a senior level to actually do it, rather than just look at it as something that's very exotic. It has to be on the fringe because it has to move fast, but it has to link back to the business. And one of the biggest probably changes we've seen over the years is that the right people within the organization to do innovation are not the heads of innovation. The heads of innovations are the gatekeepers, but the door openers, depending on how you want to look at it, right? The right people within the organization are the business heads, the ones who have a P&L to run. They recognize the value it brings to their own P&L. And this is something that 5 years ago we didn't have. We were lucky to see a head of innovation.
Nektarios, Tony, this has been great. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
And thank you for watching.